so college football is back. Obviously, a big day. It was back for like a week, but properly back yesterday. And, there was a lot that went down. We got a lot to cover. And there was a game that you went to, Ryan, in Clemson and Georgia. One of the worst offensive displays of the year already, unless your name is Washington. And then we can talk about
Penn State, Wisconsin.
Or one of those.
Oh, my God, that game was terrible.
But
Big Ten football is back.
Indeed.
All right. Well, anyway, Clemson falls to Georgia, and I want to know what happened in Clemson's offense, Ryan, and just both offenses in general last night.
I think in the case of Clemson, it was obvious that they missed Travis Etienne. Without having that really good running threat, Georgia's defense was able to really key in on Uiagalelei, and people talked about how good he played last year, but last year when he played in those two games, he had Etienne. This year he didn't. The offensive line for Clemson just got absolutely manhandled. And I think, and people are going to be quick to say that that Clemson's offensive line is bad, and I think they certainly have work to do, but I also think Georgia's defense is just extremely good. Georgia's defense is really, really legit this year. That front seven in particular is just nasty.
Fair enough. And obviously, I was talking to Joe when we were watching the game. I thought that Etienne as a safety valve last year was crucial for
yes.
them.
Yeah. And also, I just want to point out, the offense was terrible on both sides. But that defense really made the game.
Yeah, the pick six. The pick six literally the difference.
The pick six was the difference.
It was bound to happen at one point. Uiagalelei,
his throws were not very good.
Yeah.
He's got work to do, in my opinion.
This is going to be a wake-up call for Clemson for sure. And honestly, that O-line you mentioned, they allowed 8 sacks.
That should not happen in a top 5 game, in my opinion. 8 sacks.
Yeah.
Georgia's defensive front seven may be one of the best they've had under Kirby Smart, and they've had some really good defenses. If they defend like that every game, this could be their year.
Well, and also, I looked at it, and you're talking about the 8 sacks. This is 8 sacks with a quarterback who can move.
Yes.
It's not like you've got a pocket passer
Agreed.
sitting back there and can't move outside. You don't have Tom Brady there. You've got Uiagalelei who can run. And ultimately still got brought down. Speaks to the athleticism of that line as well.
Yeah, Georgia's defensive line got after it. They were like bloodhounds. They smelled blood in the water, and they were just going after it. I do think that Uiagalelei needs to be better at throwing the ball away when he's about to get sacked and nothing's there. Yeah. I think he needs to be better about being a little more decisive, and I think his accuracy has got to be better. I think a lot of us saw the interception coming because some of the throws were just awful. Now, the interception, it's funny, was actually not a bad throw. We were talking about the athleticism of the defensive line. Well, it was an athletic play by one of Georgia's secondary. Georgia's defense is just extremely athletic, and it's going to be a problem for teams in the SEC this year.
And speaking of, we talked about Georgia, now Clemson, obviously. How concerned should they be after last night? Because, that offense did not look good, but their defense looked pretty solid.
Their defense looked solid, yes. How concerned should they be? Maybe not concerned from the perspective of an ACC team actually beating them. Except with the exception maybe like an NC State. NC State's probably the only ACC team I'd give a remote shot at beating them. They, too, have a pretty good defensive line, and so that could give Clemson some problems in the games in Raleigh. Where they should be concerned is what happened around them in the ACC. North Carolina losing, Miami losing, and the fact that even though they beat North Carolina, Virginia Tech didn't really inspire a lot of confidence either. I think this hurt where Clemson should be concerned is that they got manhandled at the line of scrimmage in their toughest game of the year. And there's really going to be no opportunities for a statement win no matter who they play in the ACC championship game. So if you have Alabama go undefeated, Georgia's only loss is to Alabama in the SEC championship game, Ohio State goes undefeated, Oklahoma goes undefeated, I think all 4 would be in the playoff over Clemson. So I think the concern is now they have to, A, run the table from here, look good doing it, look much better than they did on Saturday, and they have to get some help.
And so that kind of speaks to the next question here. Is this the year they missed the playoff? They made 6 in a row, right? So is this the season where Clemson does not make the Final Four?
I think it is going to be that way because when I look at it, people want to talk about, oh, Cincinnati doesn't have the schedule. Well, Clemson just lost their toughest game of the year. You know, Cincinnati, for example, has got Indiana and Notre Dame on the road. That's a tougher schedule than what Clemson has the rest of the way, to make a point that I think it should be the year. I don't trust the playoff committee, and I've made that very known in the past, to be consistent. I feel like if you're going to apply the schedule argument to one, you've got to apply it all around. And Clemson has an extremely weak schedule. This is not a knock on NC State. I think they're a very good football team this year, but when your toughest game remaining is NC State, and you've got the likes of Oklahoma that have Texas and Iowa State, you've got even Iowa, who looked really good on Saturday. It's got Iowa State. They got, I think Clemson, from a schedule perspective, with this loss, is going to really be lacking that signature win on their resume, and their resume is going to be really weak at the end of the year compared to some of the other contenders.
They're just going to be basically another ACC team at this point.
Yeah.